What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Shit Podcast. Today we are going to have a conversation with Wez Lundry, a very experienced skater who is going to give us information about the rules, about skating in the 80s and in the 90s. And yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this conversation with Wez Lundry.
My name's Wez Lundry from Thrasher magazine, and I'm a big skateboard fan. Welcome to the Shit Podcast.
Yeah, welcome. What's up, Chris? How is it going for you?
It's going well. I'm doing well. Thanks. How are you doing?
Very well, too. Okay, so when did you start to skate? How many years ago?
I started skateboarding in 1995. I was a little kid, and my older brother Joe gave me his skateboard. It was a fiberglass main board with Chicago trucks and Chicago wheels, and I entered my first contest in 1976, which was a slalom contest. Didn't really kind of skate quarter pipes and stuff like that until about 1980 or 1981.
Okay, that's nice. And is there something that you miss from skateboarding of those days that maybe is not happening nowadays?
I miss being a little kid and having no responsibilities. Part of, for me, the early part of skateboarding, when I was very little, I didn't know anything about magazines or, there were no videos at that point in time. And so it really was just kind of exploration and just doing things ourselves and having fun. I mean, most of the time we just pointed our skateboard down a hill and rode down the hill. But, it was fun. It was camaraderie. I mean, but at the same time, there's a lot of stuff from those times that is still the same. The camaraderie is still the same, and hanging out with friends and all of that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. And what about the exposure? Do you think that now we are doing the right thing to have a better exposure? It's
interesting, right? In on the one hand, I feel it's pointless to say you can't do this, right? Whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and I'm going to skate the way I want to skate with the people I want to skate. But skateboarding's definitely gotten different. I've seen waves come up and down because I've been skating for so long. But the last 15, 20 years. Even longer now, 25 years, X Games and things like that, has really created a different path for skateboarding, right? There's the contests and all that kind of stuff, and then there's sort of the hardcore backyard pool and street skating, and I'm more that path. Yeah. But skateboarding's the Olympics. I'm not going to complain about what can I do about it. I don't care. It's I actually have a friend who's going to be. He's, I think, in the fourth place right now for the U.S. Deshaun Jordan. He just got up with Toy Machine, so I'm so psyched for him. This is going to be great. It's not my thing, but but whatever. And then in terms of exposure videos and Instagram and stuff like that, it's just different. I mean, it's just there's no sense in fighting it. You might as well just live with it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Talking about this, what do you think about the Olympics, the skateboarding in the Olympics? In your personal, of course, opinion, what is your own opinion?
For me personally, skateboarding shouldn't be in the Olympics, right? I think I don't care. I'm not gonna complain about it. I'm not gonna hold anything against the guys who go. Best of luck. Have fun. I hope it's fun, But at the same time, part of it is being packaged for a mainstream audience, and that's the part I don't like, and that's the part that people have been trying to do that with skateboarding for decades, and they don't get us.
Yeah.
Try to I mean, even the play-by-play announcing on X Games, I think Neil Hendricks was part of it, and I know Neil, he's a great guy, amazing skateboarder. I don't hold that against him whatsoever. But the other guys who had no idea what they were talking about, I mean, it was just funny. People to try to package skateboarding for mainstream people to understand, it just doesn't make any sense. It'll be funny. I don't know if I'm going to watch it, but I'm sure it'll be.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that point that you are mentioning. I agree with it. So what do you think, talking about the origins, what do you think that was or is like the most important lesson that skateboarding has learned from the punk scene? You know what I mean?
Resilience and DIY, right? Growing up as a little punk rock kid and getting into hardcore and going to shows all the time was really eye-opening. In you sort of have to fend for yourself, but at the same time you're part of a community, right? So back then when we saw other punk rockers or other skateboarders on the street, we would go talk to them because there weren't very many of us. And it was sort of like us against the world, right? And so there's a little bit of resilience, I think, that we learned. And then the DIY skateboarding in revolution, the DIY revolution in skateboarding is something that is a game changer and has been. I'm very lucky to be close to that. I skated Burnside the first year, and we started building our own stuff in Seattle a year after that. And then those guys, Monk and Red and all those other guys have all built parks. And so now, that all started from DIY, which I think, really kind of was borrowed from punk rock, which was borrowed from maybe hippies. I mean, who knows? But it's all been pretty revolutionary. When I was a kid, I dreamed of having skate parks, like the first skate park started opening in Seattle in the early 1990s before Grindline and Dreamline, and they sucked, but we didn't care. We would go. And now I think when I was a 14, 15, 16-year-old kid, I skated every day until I was 21 probably. Everybody does if you love skateboarding, but we had to make our own stuff or skate banks or skate the streets or try to find pools. Nowadays, kids just go to a skate park with amazing stuff to skate and they get good so fast. And I wish I had that. And that's all part of this DIY revolution. So when this started happening in the late 90s, when Dreamland and Grindline were created, I told all my friends, when Burnside started, I told all my friends, look, the Northwest, as the center of this, is going to have some amazing skateboarders. And sure enough, 5, 6, 7 years later, you get kids like Mikey Chin. Today, you get kids like Cody Lockwood that are just amazing. Ben Cron, but the thing is now it's happening, of course, around the world. And so the level of skateboarding has gone up. And again, it all comes back to the DIY revolution that kind of paved the way for a new generation of cement skate parks.
That's nice. And do you think that the social media phenomenon has something in this progress that we are noticing right now? What do you think about social media for skateboarding?
I don't know. I mean, it's weird. I'm on Instagram. I like watching new videos. I love seeing kids rip and all that stuff, but I think there's a lot of pressure to create a lot more stuff to post. I miss, video premieres. There's still people who are doing them. It's just not as common as it was. But at the same time, it's an evolution, right? I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with 411 Video Magazine.
For sure.
Yeah. When those came out, we'd run to the store and we'd watch them. We'd watch them 2 or 3 times. We'd stop, rewind the best parts, and so I tend to see it as a positive in another sense, and that kids everywhere can see what other kids are doing. When the first video that came out, the first modern video was Bone Brigade Video Show.
All right.
And I did, MapQuest, right? To find out how to get somewhere. I did a MapQuest. I used to skateboard 7 miles round trip from my house to the skate shop to watch the Bones Brigade video show over 2 or 3 times, and then skate all the way back home and do it again a few days later. Because to actually see the skateboarding as opposed to magazines was revolutionary and amazing. And so I think social media is a little bit like that now. You get to see what everybody's doing. It's more instantaneous, right? They filmed Bones Brigade over a couple.
Yeah.
So by the time the footage came out, people were already doing other stuff.
For sure. And something bad that it's happening is maybe that the kids and everyone is preferring to upload a video in social media like in seconds more than keeping that clip for a bigger video part. And that's something that
right, exactly. Right. So it's changed it. You know, people, I mean, like I said, there's still companies obviously that are filming videos and releasing videos. It's just a little bit rarer. The one thing that's funny to me is you know, my good friend Joe Hemeke just died a couple of days ago, and we lived in Phoenix together for a while, and you know, skated a lot. And he came to Mexico City a couple of years ago, and he was you know, more in tune with this stuff, and you know, I'd film a pool session with my phone, and he'd come over and be like, "You can't post that. We've got Parton here, and you know, we're gonna post something, but it's gonna take a couple days." And so there is also this sort of it's not really competition, but this desire that you have fresh footage that's not ABDs or not in a spot that people have seen before. And you know, I don't care about that stuff, but I respect the fact that Joe did and other people did. So it makes it kind of funny. When I go pool skating with all my buddies in Phoenix, the A team, we skate and then we post a video or whatever, and we don't care. You know, we're not. But then again, we're also not professionals trying to have a career, so it's a little bit different.
That's really nice. And what do you think about the fact of making a living from skateboarding? Do you think that it is easy or is difficult?
No, it's very difficult.
Yeah, definitely. What would be your advice for a 15-year-old skater who is saying that he wants to make a living from skateboarding?
I mean, do it. it's so thinking broadly, right? When I was a kid, there were 30 or 40 pros when I was a little kid, right? And skateboarding there weren't that many skateboarders, but I don't know, 10,000 in the United States. I don't know. But still, to be a pro at that point, it was a tiny, tiny fraction of people who skated. And so the same thing stands today, even probably less so. There's a lot of pros. I don't know, 300, 400, I don't know. I don't count. Who cares? Doesn't matter. But there's also tens of thousands of skateboarders all throughout the US and, you know, millions throughout the world. Everybody wants to be pro, right? I wanted to be pro when I was a kid. I guess I got kind of close, but I was never really like officially pro. But the people who do, it's very few. But the one thing in common that they all have is they don't care. They love it, right? And a lot of people who turn pro don't start out skateboarding thinking, I'm going to be pro and I want to turn pro. They just love it so much. They get good enough to get sponsored, and then it becomes an option for them. So I think my advice would be, don't try too hard. You know, don't try to sell yourself. Don't, you know, enjoy it. Don't do it because it's work, right? When you become a pro, sometimes skateboarding becomes work. And you know, it can make it difficult and people burn out. So I'm also, you know, maybe I'm not the best person to talk to because, you know, I'm older now and things are different. But I think that to be a pro, you just have to love skateboarding and you just have to want to do it all the time and be good at it.
For sure. Thank you for those words. I think that are really inspiring for a lot of skaters who are like in that dilemma of taking skateboarding too seriously or maybe not so much and having fun and then have an organic progress. Thank you for that. Okay, so we know that you have like a relationship with Thrasher. How is that?
I've worked for Thrasher for 27 years.
Oh.
Is that right? 27 years. So I did a zine. I did a skateboard zine called Pool Dust. And I still do it. I did 2 issues last year, which is the most I've done in a long time. But most of the people, a lot of people for Thrasher have done zines. Burnett did a zine. Sieben has done a zine. Yeah, I think Joe Brook, other people. And that's kind of how we got on this path to working for Thrasher. And so I did a zine. I started shooting photos, and for being a sponsored skater, I'd met guys who worked for Thrash. I met Bryce Kanites, I met Jake Phelps, I met Kevin Thatcher, I met Luke Ogden. So I kind of knew those guys. Brian Brandon. And I just said, hey, I can start sending you stuff from Seattle. Back then, this is 1994. So back then, there weren't a lot of people. There wasn't anybody in Seattle in the Northwest. Burnside had started, and I had written about it in my magazine, and they'd seen that. And so they just kind of signed me up. Over the years, I did more skateboarding stuff. I moved to Arizona in 1997. I did articles about pools, and I worked at a record store for 10 years, and I'm very into music. And so I think I have kind of a perspective there. And I think those guys value that. And I'm lucky. I'm very lucky. It's like being a pro skateboarder, right? There's fewer people who work for Thrasher than there are pro skateboarders. And it's hard to get the job, but I've been there for 27 years then. And I had a friend named Ben Beebe. Ben died around 1990, but Ben did a couple zines, and he was an amazing skateboarder for Concrete Jungle and whatever. And he did zines, and I wrote for him, and it was fun. And the first zine I did, I got hurt. I sprained my neck. I couldn't skate for a couple months, and I figured, well, I'll just put some pictures together and photocopy it and make a zine. And so that's what I did. But, part of it back then as well, this was 1988. Part of it back then was, look, we're doing cool stuff in Seattle. Come and skate with us. And you would send a zine out and somebody would send you one back. And here's a guy in Oklahoma, and he's got a cool ramp, and there's a pool there, and maybe we should go there and check it out. And so for me, skateboarding has always been also about traveling and meeting new people, and zines were a way to make that connection. And so, I would take road trips, and I would hang out with people I'd never even met before, only through mail, and they would show me their stuff. Same thing if they came to Seattle. And so it was that doing zines that got me into writing in this way. I have a degree in journalism. And I wanted to be a journalist before I started doing other stuff. And I started taking photos. I'm not like I'm a decent photographer. I'm not like the best guy, Bryce or Luke or Joe or Joe Brook or any of those guys. But it was enough to be able to publish stuff, and it was fun.
That's really nice. And what are like your favorite topics, your favorite subjects to write about, to talk about?
Traveling.
And
traveling and skating pools. So I lived in Phoenix from 1997 until 2017. So for about 20 years. And, I had always loved skating pools. It was one of my favorite things to do. And writing about skating pools is challenging because, there's so much going on when you skate a pool at the same time as communicating the excitement of actually having fun skating something that's not built for skateboarding. That's one of my favorite things. I like writing about music too. I mean, there's still a lot of good music coming out, a lot of good bands, and that's fun.
That's really nice. And what do you think about this experience of skating in a pool? Was that very illegal in those times, or were you?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I skated my first pool in the early 80s in Seattle, and we didn't know that you should go on the weekends and go at night or whatever, so we just skated in the middle of the day. There's a huge building next door, and these offices could look down and see us, and the cops. So I got arrested there when I was 14 or 15, and I had to clean up the pool. That was my punishment. But in Seattle, there aren't as many pools as there are in California or Arizona. So we had a network of people, and we would go look at different areas, and it was exciting. And part of pool skating is looking for the pool. It's a fun experience. It's different now with Google Earth, and you have realtor listings online and all sorts of different ways to find them. But we would skate for 20 minutes and get out of there usually, unless we knew it was a situation where we could stay for longer. Now in Phoenix, we skated 50 pools one year, and sometimes owners don't care. Sometimes owners will come out and watch. I sent a picture to a friend yesterday in Seattle. He'd been looking at a pool for weeks but the owner was there all the time. They were rebuilding the house. And I said, let's just go knock on the door. And so we knocked on the door, and the wife said, well, bring me a nice bottle of wine and you guys can skate. We went back and skated on a Saturday, and it wound up being their daughter's 8th birthday, and we were part of the entertainment. We had no idea, but they brought all the kids out and all the parents out, and they were watching us skate. And so skateboarding now, this is one of the effects of having skateboarding on the X Games and the Olympics.
Yeah,
see it more. And they're like, oh, okay. We had a pool in Phoenix for a long time, one of the best pools I've ever skated, the Hobbit Hole. And, a friend showed up one day, and there were people working on the house. And he said, he thought they were the gardeners. And he said, hey, do you mind if we skateboard a little bit? Is the owner mind? And the guy goes, I'm the owner. You can go ahead and skate. I want you guys to be able to practice, And so he let us skateboard. And from there on out, we didn't have to worry about the cops. I actually got arrested and handcuffed at that pool before. We didn't have to worry about it anymore because the owner said he didn't care. And I think that attitude has changed. So skating pools isn't quite as tough as it was. That being said, you do get people who come with guns. You get police with. How about a cop hold a gun to my head or skating pool? And in this day and age, it's dangerous. And so it's not like it's 100% easy, but it's easier than it was.
Yeah, for sure. I can imagine that. Yeah, and people is accepting skateboarding more than 20 years ago, maybe. And that's big.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's people see it in the media, and that's one of the positive things is they realize that, people used to think that skateboarders were causing trouble by skateboarding, and now they realize that skateboarders are staying out of trouble by skateboarding.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. So what do you think, how was with the vert ramp in those times? Because maybe how was its origins?
So vert ramps are what I skated the most when I was a kid.
Okay.
And back then, it wasn't until the late 1980s, 88 or so, where you had a differentiation between street skating and vert skating. Everybody just skated before then. But when the parks in California closed in the early 80s, like probably 80, 81, Del Mar and Upland stayed a few more years, but most of the parks closed. You had to build a ramp, right? And people had already built ramps before then, but it was the early 80s when this explosion happened, and you had flat bottom and channels and big vert ramps. And then Thrasher, in the early days, covered these contests, right? Somebody in Ohio would say, hey, I'm having a vert contest. 12 pros would show up, and Thrasher would write an article about it because that was what was going on. And in Seattle, it was the same. There were a couple early parks. I never skated the Olympia Park. I never skated the early Yakima Park, but I started skating vert. A friend of mine had a tiny little vert ramp. We skated that. There's another one close by, but there was a ramp in Seattle that was built around 1984 or 1983, and we were there every day. And it was just fun. But the reason was because there wasn't big stuff to skate.
Yeah, for sure. I can imagine. And what about talking about those times? What do you think about the ollie invention? What is the inventor of the ollie for you? What do you think?
Have you seen the book about this?
Yeah, there is a book, a very big book talking about the origins of the ollie. Yeah. Oh,
It's like 900 pages. I read it. I reviewed it in Thrasher. I read it.
oh, that's nice. Would you recommend it?
No. No, actually, I mean, it's interesting. It's an interesting book. It's too much. It could have been 200 pages, right? Got a lot of detail, which is interesting. But the point is, and it's useless to me. Who cares? Alan Gelfand is the person credited with creating the ollie, and this guy's argument was, well, there's these other people who did it, but they didn't do it the same way that he did. And who cares? I don't care. Let Alan Gelfand have it. He's the guy who promoted it. It's the same with Tony Alba in the frontside air. People in Florida were saying I did that first, or people in other places. I don't really care. I really care. But the one thing that is true is the ollie revolutionized skateboard. There's that on vert, and then obviously on street. Obviously, I mean, you and I both know Rodney Mullen was one of the innovators who basically is the father of modern street skating, technical street skating, because of all of his ollie variations. So,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, who cares about it? Yeah, I agree with that.
It's kind of true. I mean, there are people. I'm sure you probably have friends like this too. But there are people who will argue and get into fights, and it matters to them. It's like, who cares?
Yeah,
I mean, you just want to go have fun.
For sure. Okay, Chris, the conversation is about to end. One last question, and that's it. So,
sure.
What do you think about the concept of pro skaters? What do you think that are the attributes or the skills of that skater who deserves to be called a pro skater?
Well, my opinion doesn't matter. It's funny because I have a friend. His name's Pat Quirk, also known as Q or the Q Man or Sugar, and I compiled. He wrote for my zine for 20 years, and I put a lot of his essays. And he wrote an essay about what it takes to be a pro skater. And he wrote this in like 1993 or 1994, right? He's like, to be able to grind a pool, you have to be able to catch air on vert, you have to be able to ollie on street, right? But in today's modern age, you don't. And it's not up to me to decide what it takes to be pro. And, all that matters is for a company, is a company going to make money, basically? Are people going to buy the pro model, or is the person going to promote the company? I mean, that's the main thing. What I would like to see, in my opinion, I'd like people who are all-around skaters. Chris Sen was one of the first original sort of ATVs, right? All-terrain vehicle. People don't like that phrase. I don't know why, but it fits. Chris Sen, people like Tony Trujillo, Grant Taylor now, Ben, what's his name? Skates for Birdhouse. Ben. Kid with glass. What's his name? Come on, help me here. You got to help me here. Ben
from Birdhouse.
Yeah.
No, Ben. Is his name Ben?
Anyway, Ben Raybourn.
Okay.
So anyway, guys like that who skate everything. That's what I want. But at the same time, I know pro skaters who can't even do a grind on vert, and it's like, well, for me, you're missing out on part of skateboarding. You should be able to skate everything. And I still skate, and I still skate parks and pools, and occasionally I'll go roll around the street. I can't do what I did. And so it's hard for me to say, well, you have to be able to do this when I can't do any of the stuff pro skateboarders do on the street. But I think that all around skateboarders are the kind of skateboarders that who can rip vert. Pedro Barros, guys who can rip vert as well as street, and he's doing a kickflip to fakie like 2 feet out over the top.
Yeah,
Tom Penny, never known as a vert skater or anything, but he could still do stuff, and people only thought of him as a street skater.
Yeah, for sure.
I like.
a very good opinion about the concept of pro skater. But yeah, you have the experience, you know how it is in skateboarding, the skateboarding world. So yeah. Okay, Chris, thank you for accepting this invitation. It was a pleasure to have you here. Congratulations.
Thank you for having me.
All the achievements, and of course for being a skater that are not quitting skateboarding right now.
Tienes que venir a México para patinar aquí.
Necesito ir a México para patinar allá. For sure, we need to skate.
Sí, tenemos parques y albercas y sí, claro.
That's nice. And what about the community? It changed? Do you think that it changes? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean it's different. I've only skated 2 pools here, and I skate 2 pools a week in Arizona, and so it's difficult. And there's a couple parks. Some of the older parks are they're not that good. I don't want to say terrible, but they're just not that good.
Okay.
And some of the new stuff is better. There's a good scene here though. There's a place called Rabioso. It has a bowl. The bowl's really gnarly. It's fun to skate, but it's really challenging, and maybe they'll redo it. But the people here are great. It's fun skating. They were very welcoming to me, and they're very patient. There's underground spots that we go skate. There's a great full pipe, and so it's just like any other scene. There's a lot of really cool people doing good things here. I just wish the pandemic would end, because I have a 6-month-old child, and so we're being very careful and not seeing other people, and I just want it to end so I can go skateboarding more.
For sure. We all hope that happens very soon. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we need to travel. I need to travel to Mexico.
Yeah. Y también yo quiero ir a Colombia.
Por favor, you need to. Here is beautiful. Yeah. Okay, Chris, thank you for your vibes. Good. Thank you for your words. Thank you for your experience, all right?
Thank you for taking the time.
Okay, thank you. Have a nice day, man.
Alright guys, this was Chris Wez Lundry. I really hope that you enjoyed this conversation, and yeah, that was it for today. What do you think about Wez Lundry, and what do you think about the conversation that we just had? Leave us your opinion in the comments down below, and right now let's go skate safe. You know how it is.